Okay, hi, I'm Isabel from All Tangled Up Knits, and welcome to my dyeing adventures, or adventures in natural dyeing, I guess. You might have seen that I have had a kind of failed experience with avocado dyeing. I'm obviously going to try again, but if you've watched the first newbie sewing diary, God, I've got to relabel these or something, but you'll see my like weird kind of tan brown sheet that got dyed out of all that. I had it air dry outside hoping something would oxidize, or I don't know what I was thinking, but then I soaked it in water, or I let it sit for, like, honestly I just kind of left it for 3 weeks without washing it, partially because I was gonna at least leave it a few days to let it all kind of settle in so I'm not just washing stuff off, and then I forgot about it. But I soaked it, rinsed it, soaked it, rinsed it, soaked it, rinsed it, and the weirdest thing happened. So comment below and tell me if you've ever experienced anything like this. Oh, you can't tell on the camera. That's so annoying. Okay, you might not be able to tell here, but it's peach colored now. It was like a weird yellowy, like kind of gross tan before. It's peach colored. Has anyone ever had this where they've done natural avocado dyeing and the color has like been nicer after like machine washing it, or after soaking it, rinsing it, and then machine washing it? Because it's really cool. Now, let me show you a few funky things. It's kind of cool in that like the color is obviously not very even, which I'm okay with. It has a kind of cool look that I wouldn't do in a top or anything for myself, but I think I'm gonna make a little like arm knitting bag thing with it. But because I was doing it in a really small pot, as you might have seen in the video, a lot of parts of it were like, I tried mixing it around, but dye still got stuck places, the particles, and so I ended up with a lot of a few funky places like this, which honestly, when it was wet, I really hated, and I don't hate it now. It's kind of cool. I might actually, I could cut it to make it kind of almost like a purposeful feature on the bag itself, or make sure it shows up somewhere, because it's actually kind of cool. Part of me wishes I'd just cut the top part off of the sheet, because some of the coolest dye I actually got on here, and I can't really use this for the bag. No, I can't. But look at that. Once again, it doesn't look that great on camera, but it is like a kind of fun, light, tannish, peachy color. Like, it's a lot more pink than it was. And yeah, so I'll actually use it. That yellowy tan color that it was before, I will be honest, I would not have used. Which is like, okay, I'm using an old sheet, it's fine. It could have just become like a drying cloth or something, but that I'm actually gonna use. It's really cute. Now, I have been, if you once again have been watching, seen I made some red cabbage dye that I've been reading like a few books on natural dyeing and about like creating natural dyes and making dye concentrates that you can store for a little while. I think that was the wrong move for this one for me. It didn't talk specifically about this kind of dye. I just kind of hoped it would do the same thing. Now the purple still looks pretty good. It looks lighter, a little bit more pink too, but it still looks pretty good. This, which it was hard to tell in the video in the kitchen, but this was a dark teal before. And now it's like a weird kind of light pinkish purpley brownie. So I'm going to research a little bit and see if I like heat it up again and hit it with more baking powder right before I dye. Will that change it at all? I'm genuinely not sure. But I'll do a little tester something with it to kind of figure it out before I dye I was going to dye fabric, but I've kind of decided to dye yarn instead. I'm gonna put it down there because it got a drip on it and I don't want it to get on the little tablecloth out here. And I decided to dye yarn because I went to Domesticity up in Lauraville in Baltimore yesterday, and they were talking about how they've decided to stop carrying yarns just because they have so many other things to promote, and it's predominantly a fabric and sewing store and quilting. So she told me that she was about to put all of the yarns on sale and I could buy some on sale. And so I got this just natural colored wool, and this is Kelbourne Woollens Scout, which it's so soft. I've used Perennial and Andorra before, which are like these ultra soft, like alpaca-y, mohair-y wool things. But this is like, oh, it's so nice. I think it's a DK. It looks like a DK. The little 3 yarn thing's DK, right? Yeah. So I think 2's fingering. Anyway, I'm really excited. So my initial plan, because I had more of the teal dye, was to dye 2 of them in the teal and 1 in the purple. That might change. We're gonna see what happens with the teal dye, but later today, if I have time, I'm going to give them their alum bath, and get them kind of start them, or do the mordanting process. Yeah, I'm really excited. But I'm going to cut a little bits of it off and test them out first before I do the whole skein, because I'm a little nervous. I'm less nervous about this purple than I am about that teal that's no longer teal. So we'll see if I can get that color kind of back to where it was. I don't know if I can, but I'll test it out. And if you guys have any like ideas, anything that you know of, leave a comment. So yeah, follow along. That is what I'm doing today.
Sometimes we act like a fool, not aware we're troublemakers. Sometimes we try to be cool, not being givers, only takers. Stop for a minute, stop and breathe for a minute. Don't get over your head, try to listen instead, won't you? Think for a minute, who you wanna be for a minute. Don't get over your head, you're like everyone else, aren't you? You could gain from being a bit nicer, know when to talk and when to shut your mouth. You're so moody, always such a fighter. Try to open up your mind sometimes, you'll be just fine. You'll be just Sometimes we yell when we're sad, and sometimes we laugh when we're afraid. Sometimes we smile when we're mad, and some lines we wished we'd never said. Stop for a minute, stop and breathe for a minute. Don't get over your head, try to listen instead, won't you? Think for a minute, who you wanna be for a minute. Don't get over your head, you're like everyone else, aren't you? You could gain from being a bit nicer, know when to talk and when to shut your mouth. You're so moody, always such a fighter. Try to open up your mind sometimes, you'll be just
my yarn has been soaking for, I had, like, the first time I kind of let it heat up in the dye for about an hour, let it cool all the way, let it sit overnight. This morning heated it again for about an hour and then let it sit. So all in all, it's been kind of absorbing the dye for about 30 hours because this is way past the 24-hour mark. And I wish you could see, it's like this beautiful kind of a mix between a seafoam and a sage green, but I know it looks kind of gray in the video. Hopefully at the end it'll kind of show up better. If not, I'll try to input a photo. But what I'm going to do now is basically like drain and rinse it. So I'm going to try to like squeeze out all the color and do a few like little rinse baths in the bowl. And then hang it over the sink to kind of drip dry overnight. And obviously it'll take a little longer than overnight, I think, to dry all the way. But my last kind of wash, I think I'll do rinses and then I'll do a little bit of a wash with a wool wash to get the last bit out. So this is the kind of seafoamy green one. I really just wish it would show up better. Maybe I'll get some nice images of it tomorrow because it's really pretty. All right. everyone. So I have now fully rinsed until the water was clear with my avocado dyed yarn, not avocado, red cabbage dyed yarn. I rinsed it till it was clear and squeezed it out and then left it to hang over the sink for the better part of a week because I was away. I went to the beach. But here we have the finished yarn, and so you can see the colors a little bit better out here. We've got, this is the sea foamy green, which it still is kind of, it's like between a sea foamy green and a super light sage. Or it's almost kind of like, if any of you know Brooklyn Tweed, they have this one that's, I think it's called Glacier or Nordic, but it's like the palest bluey green into a white. And that's kind of what this is, which is good because I like that. And I'm glad I did 2 skeins in it instead of 1. And then the other one, this had been that like bright magenta pot, if you remember seeing it like that. And ooh, got a little bit of red cabbage in there. This had been like that bright magenta, and while the seafoam green held its color at least a little bit, it was pretty true to color the whole time. This one has become more of a kind of silvery purpley blue, which is nice. Just different than what I was expecting given kind of the bath that it had. So yeah, there we have. Got cut off there because my card was full, but they might not have come out quite as I was expecting, but I'm very happy with them. So I'm going to wind them into skeins and get them packed because I'm moving in 2 days. And actually having quite a bit of trouble fitting a lot of things. So, see you next time. This is a really plump skein. Like, they do not skimp on these, and it's really plushy. I don't know if you can hear my neighbor's chickens in the background, just happily clucking away. Twisty tie's gotten a little over twisted here.